right. Thank you everyone for coming. We are part of the Senior Design Showcase for Nebraska Water Center. So the company we were working for is obviously the Nebraska Water Center, like I mentioned. Congressionally made as a mandate in 1964. The app that we created, Know Your Well, is a nonprofit with a project that allows students to collect well water samples in their area and then test those samples and then submit them eventually to the Nebraska Water Center for analysis. We were previously collecting these water samples over Google Forms and on paper. We're working to now move that process over to our app, Know Your Well. So some of our stakeholders that we are very appreciative of is Dan Snow, who's the Director of Lab Services, helped us a lot in sponsor meetings, kind of staying focused, as well as Mark Masark and Sarah, who are here. Were super helpful in kind of telling us what they wanted from the application, super clear on what they wanted, which was a big help. It can always be difficult trying to nail down exactly what the requirements are, but they were super helpful in that area. David Kasanda on the database, Craig Aiding on authentication, Austin Hill also on authentication, and Dave Meisbach, who is part of the NDEE. As for our senior design staff and faculty, Will Browning was our wonderful project manager, helped us a ton, kind of with our professionalism and how we are leading our meetings and talking to our sponsors. He was super helpful in that area, as well as Vinod Vareem, also super helpful, giving us feedback on what we did well, what we didn't do well, very helpful throughout the process. And then Aaron Deming, who helped us with some of the more technical aspects of the project, super available, super willing to help, and as somebody who's not associated with the university, that was just really impressive to see. As for our student team, I am Brian Cardell, right in the middle. I'm the squad lead and the product manager. And then we also had Andrew Aldana, Joel Bargan, Tanner Turgeon, and Kaleem Dumas, who are out there, but they were some of our developers through this project. So what our problem was is that we needed a new, more efficient alternative for students to be able to collect their well results and submit them to the Nebraska Water Center. But the idea that has kind of arose from this was Know Your Well app, which is a progressive web application that students can download to their phones or visit on the website. Some of the things we had to address in this past year were users need to collect internet access or collect well results without internet access because some wells may be in areas that are have low or no connection to the internet whatsoever. And then we also wanted the wells that are collected to be filtered and stored by school so that students could only view wells that their school had created. This was important for privacy and security reasons, and also just to clarify like what wells they're really focusing on. We'd also worked on a way to upload photos of wells and had run into some issues throughout our way on development. Some of the things that we had accomplished throughout this past semester, Nebraska Cloud for User Authentication was probably the biggest of them all. This allowed students to log in to Know Your Well using their school credentials, like their school email, school password, and this would automatically log them into the site. Their information was passed through Nebraska Cloud, who was super helpful in the process and with getting everything integrated. We also were able to collect in the information stored in Azure database. This has been something that's been a part of the project for a couple of years now. And it also collects geolocation data of where the well is. So when you go to make a well or make a field or submit a field, it'll automatically collect your latitude and longitude and submit that into the form, so you don't need to collect it yourself. Obviously, the goal in the end, what the sponsors emphasized, was creating a completely usable and finalized app that students can really use in their classroom to achieve their goals.
Then I'll go ahead and take over here. So here's a little bit kind of like a visual representation of our project itself. This is the main login page up on the top here, and then over on the bottom here, this is an about page for our project showcasing like some of our sponsors, like the Nebraska Water Center and other people who have also contributed funding to the project. And then this page here is after you click that first login with school credentials up on the top. This will bring you to the Nebraska Cloud integration for it. And each of these schools listed down here have to be integrated through Nebraska Cloud services themselves in order to have like a login associated with it. But from here, once the students logged in, they'll only be able to see wells associated with each of those schools in their logins. And then here's like a visual representation of what I was just kind of mentioning. So these are all the wells that we've gone and created with our local test account. So none of the production accounts would be able to see any of these wells here. These are just specifically for us as developers. And then over on the left here, we have the create well field. And you can get to that by hitting the create well, or create new well, excuse me, up at the top there. And that'll bring you over to this page on the left and the right, actually. Just a continuation of the page themselves. So from here, you can enter information for each of the wells, such as well name, county, and other bits of information all throughout. There are required fields that are denoted by like the red star associated with them and the red outline for each of the boxes. Any other fields here are optional for the user. They can submit it. It wouldn't make a difference as to like allowing them to actually go through and be able to actually submit the application. But if any of those red fields were not filled out, they would not be able to go through and fill out the application or fill out the form, excuse me. And then here is a more visual representation of like the well after you click through one of the wells in that first slide here. So for example, like you could go and click into Kaleem's well up at the top, and then it'd bring you to this page down at the bottom here, which is denoted by demo well in this case. And then this page here is the well info, which can be obtained after clicking this well info button here at the top. And this will show you a bit more standardized form of all of the information that was denoted in that create new well field, showcasing just all of the information in modern text rather than field format. And over here now we're moving on to the field form itself. And to get to that field form itself, you'll need to go back into this well page after clicking on one of those wells, and you'll go down to this second option here, the field. And then that will bring you over to this create new field option here. And it's kind of the same gist as the create new well. There are fields that are denoted in red with a red outline and red star indicating required. You'll also note that there are photo upload options here as well. There are 5 different photo upload options for each of the each portion of the well itself. It's just there to add more of a visual representation for each of the sponsors and anyone who'd be viewing the data at Nebraska Water Center to get a better idea of what's going on at each of the wells themselves. And now we'll be moving on to the class lab form itself. And again, to get to this form here, you'll go back to the field inside one of those selected wells and click the third option, now the class lab option. And so once you're in here, you'll see previous fields. In order to create a class lab, you will need to have a field form filled out previously. And each of the fields will be shown at the top here, indicated by field ID 104 and 106 in this example here. And then after clicking on one of those fields, you'll be directed to one of the class lab forms to create a new class lab. Pretty similar to the previously mentioned forms. A lot of the information there is more relating to like chemicals and other bits of information found within the well itself. Again, fields are denoted in red, indicating required fields that wouldn't allow you to submit without them being filled out. And over here we have like another demonstration of the class lab and field activity. And to get to this form itself, you need to go again back to that singular form within a well that you've selected from the main page and go down to this previous entries form here at the bottom. And then this will showcase previous fields and class labs associated with each field here. Again, putting the information in a more text standardized format rather than a field format.
I'll quickly hop in and wrap it up. So highlight some things that we did. We increased the security and confidentiality for the users so students can only see wells that they created. And as a team, we learned a lot. Just how to effectively communicate with sponsors. A lot with that was helped by our faculty. But a really good experience for us, something I feel like we really grew as a team throughout the course of the year, and something that we can look back on with a lot of pride. So finally, I'd like to invite the sponsors up. We have something for you here.